Big Deke breaking news. Kenny Pickett, car, stolen, and his playbook was in it. But new reports say it has been returned, and the playbook was returned with it. An arrest has been made, and this is the photo of the thief. The general reaction from social media is that Steeler Nation should not be that concerned. At Poppin' G says, it's only Matt Canada's plays. Nothing to worry about here. OneSelfMade.ty says, thief saw the playbook and thought he stole a middle school football coach's car. And the comments only get better on Twitter. At KMiller15211 says, Canada's playbook is like 2 pages of scribbles and Popeye grease stains on a Bayou burger wrapper. Maybe they thought it was litter. Megamind says Canada's playbook is probably just an Arby's menu. Anthony Rubin feels like the playbook can be easily found. It doesn't have to be stolen. At Yinzer Sports says even criminals know that playbook is worthless. And finally, we have a conspiracy from Steeler Joe. Inside job. Maybe he's just trying to get creative in unloading Canada's playbook once and for all. We'll keep you updated here at Big Deke News if anything further comes out. But now let's get into some of the other news for the day, particularly trade rumors and potential transactions at least. First, Isaiah Simmons. I mean, this has been the buzz over the last 2 or 3 days. Could he be traded to Pittsburgh? And I'm a little skeptical in that, I feel like it's just been some of the blogs over the last week or so that have drummed up this supposed interest. But when you look at it a little bit further and a little bit deeper, it does make sense for both sides, both the Cardinals and the Steelers, because with the Cardinals, they brought in Kazir White from the Eagles. They also drafted Ojulari in the second round this year, and then the year prior took Zaven Collins, or was that 2 years ago? I can't remember. I think it was 2 years ago. Have Zaven Collins also in their inside linebacker room. So that's kind of busy, and they didn't pick up Isaiah Simmons' fifth-year option. They dropped Deandre Hopkins today, cut him. Kyler Murray's going to be on IR for probably this whole season. So, it feels like they're in tank mode. So, why not recoup some resources for a guy in Isaiah Simmons that you're probably going to lose to free agency anyway? And then with the Steelers, we've already talked about bringing in an athletic inside linebacker. Quan Alexander had a visit. Obviously, nothing got done there. But that's the one thing, if you're talking about needs, we'd be fine going into the season as is. But if Omar Khan wants to just keep doing what he's doing and turning over every stone and trying to make sure every detail is buttoned up on this roster, let's get a guy like Isaiah Simmons. I think he'd be a great fit. If we're talking about guys like Quan Alexander, Reuben Foster, even like a Deion Jones, Isaiah Simmons is a better version of those guys at this point in his career. Now, they bring different things to the table. I think Quan and Reuben are a little bit more physical, but Isaiah Simmons has that crazy athleticism. And even though he really hasn't lived up to the bill from where he was drafted at this point, still productive player. 100-plus tackle season last year. He had 4 sacks, a couple interceptions too. I wonder, people compare this to Miami Dolphins with Minka Fitzpatrick and how the Steelers traded for him. He was a little bit misused down there. I wonder if we could get Isaiah Simmons from the Cardinals and he gets into a good organization like the Steelers, if he could be a stud. I feel like it's a low-risk, high-reward move for the Steelers because if he ends up panning out, he could be your inside linebacker 1 for the foreseeable future. If not, all right, he's a 1-year rental, but is still filling a void for what you're looking for right now. I hope this happens. I'm a little skeptical. Now, what would it take to get a trade like this done? I'd start off with a day 3 pick and see where it goes from there. Could you get him for a 4th? Get him for a 5th? I'd maybe even go up as far as a 3rd. Maybe. And some people have suggested adding Kevin Dotson to the deal too because we know his future's not on this Steelers offensive line. He's only got 1 year left, and then you got to think of all the other guys that we've added recently. But could be a guy that the Cardinals use, has experience, 30-plus starts under his belt, and doesn't have an excruciating cap hit. Then I'd be curious at Simmons' cap hit for the Steelers. Do the Cardinals take on a portion of that or not? Because I think right now it sits around 6.5, and then there's always the option. I guess you could extend Simmons if he came in, giving him an additional year or two, try to bump that cap hit down if you really need to. But no, I think it'd be a good move. As I mentioned, I think it'd be low risk. I think it'd be really potential high reward if Simmons panned out. But we'll just have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see if this is just buzz created up by us, people on the internet, or if the Steelers are actually thinking this way. But also, in other news, there's some other Cardinals news that can be connected to the Steelers in a way, but not really from my standpoint. I don't think anything's going to happen from this. DeAndre Hopkins was released by the Cardinals today, so people are bringing up, like, hey, Steelers, should we sign DeAndre Hopkins? That's not happening. We know that's not happening. But would it make sense? Not at this point. Not really. Now, if we didn't sign Allen Robinson, sure, but I like the guys we got in-house. Pickens, Deontay, Allen Robinson. We got a Calvin Austin. You know we have a ton of depth after him as well. I just don't think it's needed. And you got to think, too, you can only pay so many people. DeAndre Hopkins, even though he was cut by the Cardinals, is still going to get a sizable contract, I feel like, to his new team. At least double digits. Now, he's a little bit late in the game with free agency. Odell Beckham got 15. I mean, I would at least think Hopkins is getting around there because I think Hopkins is still a much better receiver than Odell Beckham. And he's not coming off of the injuries like OBJ did either. So I don't think we could really afford it, but unless you do a whole like trade Deontay, bring in Hopkins. But I'll be honest with you, I don't even think I'd want to do that because we have our big receivers in Pickens and Allen Robinson. Deontay's like the shifty guy that gets open quick. Yeah, he needs to catch the ball more. We all agree with that. But I think a big season's in store for Deontay. I know him and Pickens talked about their goals, getting over 1,000 yards Pro Bowl. I do think that is very possible for both of them. I think it's just all going to depend on how much we throw the ball. And I do think it will be more than last year. You got to think, Pickens and Deontay both had around 800 yards. And that was with us doing a very run-heavy offense, particularly in the second half of the season, with us having uncertainty at quarterback. So I see no reason why they can't do that. And then Allen Robinson, it's really house money with him. If he can get us like 6, 7, 800 yards, that'd be perfect. But no on DeAndre Hopkins to Pittsburgh. Let me know your thoughts, though, about Kenny Pickett getting his car stolen with the playbook in it. Also, an Isaiah Simmons potential trade with the Steelers. And should we actually consider bringing in DeAndre Hopkins, even though I'm telling you guys, no, it's not happening. Not happening. But do you think it should happen? That's it on Big Deke News. That's it. That's it, though. That's it, though, for Big Deke News on a Friday. Enjoy your Memorial Weekend. I might have another episode dropping in the morning, so stay tuned for that, and stay chilling. Peace.